Friends. Friends, in just a moment, we are going to begin the service for Mrs. Jeany Soshnik. If you have a cell phone or any noise-making device, I ask you to take a moment to please put it on silent. Officiating today's service will be Rabbi Rachel Weiss and Cantor Howard Freeland.
So Jeany was a hummer. So we'll do some organized humming. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Today is a gorgeous and glorious Jeany kind of day. And the only thing that is wrong is that we are here to say goodbye to her. This is a day that for the last 10 months we knew was probably coming. This is a day that is so radically different than what we expected. And yet, today we come together to be able to, in our grief and in our love, recognize that Jeany lived her life exactly the way she wanted to, up until the very end. And we are so very sad to have to be here in this way today. Jewish funerals are about being together. And part of what we do when we come together is to recognize that being alone is something that can be hard and scary and lonely. And so we want to make sure that our beloveds and all of us are not alone, including Jeany. The Hebrew word for a funeral, levaya, means to accompany. And Jeany was accompanied all the days of her life until the very, very end, celebrating her birthday and Passover and her family all together with so much love and grace and gratitude of togetherness. And so what we do here today, this morning, for those of us that are here and the many, many, many of you that are joining us from where you are on the live stream, and we're so glad and grateful for your presence. It is so important that you are here to witness and be part of this last piece of Jeany's life. We are here so that Jeany, up until this very moment, is not alone, to accompany her. And equally as important, to make sure that we're not alone and to accompany each other. The ritual of kriya, of tearing of the ribbon, is a recognition of a tear in the fabric of life and our hearts and our world and our community that we have known. And so we tear this ribbon, this black ribbon, as a symbol outwardly of the brokenness in our hearts today. And so I want to ask those of you who are wearing black ribbons, who are wearing Kriya ribbons, to stand as you are able. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu chei ha'olamim, hakarov lanishberei lev, ve'et dakei ruach yoshia. Blessed are you, the one who sustains us, life of all the worlds, who is close to the brokenhearted and near to those who are in despair. And we say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, dayan ha'emet. Blessed is the source of truth in the universe. And I invite you, those that are wearing a ribbon, to tear from the bottom. If you need some help, we'll help you, as a symbol this morning of that brokenness. We invite you to be seated as Cantor Howard chants for us these words from the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, about generations who come and who go, and how the world keeps going, and all returns to the vastness, just like the individual drops of water into the vastness of the water.
דור הולך ודור בא, והארץ לעולם עומדת. ויזרח השמש ובא השמש, ואל מקומו שואף. זורח הוא שם. הולך אל דרום, וסובב אל צפון. סובב, סובב הולך הרוח, וסביבותיו שב הרוח. כל הנחלים הולכים אל הים, והים איננו מלא. אל מקום שהנחלים הולכים שם, הם שבים ללכת.
Today we begin to tell Jeany's story in a new way. We have been telling her story as long as we have known her, for her story has become part of ours. But now we begin to tell her story in the past tense. When we sing the words of the Amidah, Ledor vador nagid godlecha, from generation to generation we will tell of your greatness. And as many of our contemporary poets have translated, Ledor vador nagid godlecha, the light in us shines on and on. And today, as we say goodbye to Jeany, we tell her story. The story of a woman who was born in South Dakota, of a place that's slightly ambiguous or unknown. But Jeany was not one for getting all the details right. That moved to O'Neill, Nebraska, the middle of nowhere of much of that state, Omaha, Nebraska, slightly less in the middle of nowhere, California and St. Louis and Chicago. A woman who was bold and dedicated and loving and caring, a little mischievous, with a very, very big heart. We tell her story as a daughter and a wife and a mom and a grandma, a sister, a girlfriend, a fiance, a mother-in-law, a nurse, a caregiver, a troublemaker, and a friend. We will tell her story, the daughter of Beatrice and Robert Pappenheimer, the second oldest of four, but really the oldest, as she took on that role for herself. Sister of Roxy and Mark, of Debbie and Artie, and of Nancy, the former wife of Robert Soshnik. And Bob, we know that in your parting in these last years, there was an opportunity for her to express gratitude for your relationship and for you to be able to share the ways in which you were grateful for her life and her caregiving and her parenting, and wishing her all the best. We celebrate Jeany as the mother of Michael and Leah, and the mother-in-law, but really mother as well, of Jonathan and Betsy, and the grandma of George and Audrey and Liliana, who she loved so much and loved being with you and playing with you and spending time on all of your adventures at her fun house in Chicago. Jeany, beloved community member who got to JRC, our synagogue community where she dove in fully through Larry Goldberg, and then her beloved of these last 4.5 years, Ron Deitch. And so in your words and your stories, we will hear about Jeany and start to tell her story. This will not be the only time we will talk about her. We will talk about her always. But we will take a few moments with kavanah and with intention to say, we mark now this transition. First, we will hear from her son Michael and Betsy will share a poem that Ron and Jeany read at your last high holidays, our last high holidays, and Jeany's last, on kindness. It really captures the heart of Jeany. So Michael and Betsy, if you want to make your way up here, and if Audrey comes too, that's just fine.
Like Georgie. Okay, Daddy's gonna give you one. Okay? You're gonna open it first?
Switch.
Great. Okay, kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weekend broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking of the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes you sense anymore, and only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to gaze at bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd to the world to say, it is I you have been looking for, and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend.
Thank you, Betsy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here to memorialize my mom. What a beautiful, smart, and kind Jeany. I was lucky. While I feel incredibly sad about the loss of my mother, I feel so good about the life she lived and my relationship with her throughout it. While I feel a bit of pressure to tell the story of her life, I keep on reminding myself that a eulogy at a funeral is only the start of remembering a person. I think think the rabbi already said that, so thank you, but I'm happy to repeat that. And, since that's the case, I hope to be able to eulogize my mom for a long time to come. If anyone wants to call or swing by to discuss Jeany, I'm really here for it. It's not a joke. I can say with 100% certainty that I am who I am because of my mom. Well, yeah, that is true for most people. She helps give me confidence in myself to succeed in life. When I was a kid, my focus wasn't always the best. It's probably still not always the best today. But just as an example, in school, I think it was in like first or second grade, we had these math tests where we competed against our peers for a few months. Jeany worked with me to learn some basic math, but it's really how she worked with me that was pure Jeany. I don't think she was trained in actual teaching techniques, but she understood that focus was my hurdle. She had me sit in a specific spot and practice math problems. If I lose focus, she would throw something at me, like, crumbled up a piece of paper, nothing too hard, nothing like a stapler or anything. But, just really as a reminder to focus. Yeah, it was unconventional, but it worked. I ended up winning that math contest, against my peers. She used to tell this story, honestly, because I think she thought it was funny, that she'd throw something at me to get me to learn. But that's the little mischievousness in her. But this gave me the gift of confidence and importance of practice, and really helped me through my life. This is something I look back on. I know she did that time and time again. One of the other things I loved about my mother was her ability to attack life with a smile. Her smile really was infectious. It showed me through this most recent battle, it really showed through. While her diagnosis was not the easiest, I was so proud of her on the way she handled it with grace and dignity. Her goal was to walk to radiation daily, and she was so close to making that goal. Every time I saw her or we spoke throughout this disease process, she had a good attitude, and it was more about enjoying every single day as it comes. She really taught me through this life to live day by day, breath by breath, because you never know what the next one's going to bring. I think someone innately, my mom has always had that mindset, which helped her through many of these recent months. She always had an ability to have fun in any situation. Speaking of living every day to its fullest, Jeany was 100% in her prime when she was with her grandkids. When George was born, she wanted me to call her day or night to come to Cleveland for the birth. She packed a bag for weeks before my wife even packed her bag, I think. And Betsy was due. At that time, I called her at 4 a.m. She said call anytime, and she made it to Cleveland by 10. She adores all her grandkids, George, Audrey, and Lily. I think missing out on the future events with her grandkids is what was hardest for her about this illness, but I have a feeling she's going to find a way to be there. One of the silver linings of joy throughout this illness was that Jeany really brought my sister and my family together with her family in ways that would not have been possible outside of COVID or through COVID. They became our bubble as we were driving from Cleveland to Chicago quite a bit. This speaks to my mom's ability to bring people together when she was trying to or not. While it hurts me to think about missed memories my mom will have with my wife, my kids, and I, it makes me smile that she really did live life to the fullest while she was here. She always called me her little slice of heaven, but she truly is mine. Even until the end, Jeany was more concerned with consoling those around her. My wife, Betsy, and Jeany had a very special bond. She was another mother to my wife. Even near the end, when my mother was minimally responsive in bed, she found a way to console Betsy. She was patting her hand. Even without saying anything, she told her it was okay. I'll end it with this. So my mom and I share something in common. We both don't always say the right words, or we might pronounce something incorrectly without even thinking about it. Those who know me well have seen it. In Cleveland, just an example, there's a grocery store called Giant Eagle, and she'd say, I'm going to go to Eagles. Or she called Betsy, my wife, Becky. I mean, probably the last time she did it was like 3 months ago. So all throughout, our relationship. But it wasn't out of anything malicious. It was just how her mind worked. And that's how my mind works too sometimes. And we share that in common. So anytime I do that, I think about that as Jeany speaking through me. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here. I know she loved everybody. She really did. And I love her. I miss her. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Michael. The 23rd Psalm. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo achsor, Mihinot dashe yarbitzeni, al menuchot, yenachaleni. Nafshi shovev, Yancheni v'magle tzedek, Yancheni v'magle tzedek, Leman shemo. Kom kielech beget salmavet, lo hira ki ata imadi, shivtecho umishantecho, hema yinachamuni. Tagoch lifanai, Shulchan neged tzorerai, Nishanta v'shemen rashi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shaveti bevet Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar, Adonai roi lo echsar.
The line from the 23rd Psalm that always stays with me and feels so full of Jeany, Kosi Rivaya, my cup overflows with love and goodness and kindness and care. So we want to invite Jeany's daughter Leah and son-in-law Jonathan to join us to share your stories and remembrances.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jonathan Beitner, Leah's husband and Jeany's son-in-law. I met Jeany 16 years ago when I spent winter break from undergrad with Leah and her family in Chicago. Like many of us, I will always remember Jeany as a fun-loving, caring woman who had a knack for making you feel welcomed, comfortable, and at ease. Traits she displayed from that very first visit many years ago until her final days. In many ways, Jeany was an ideal mother-in-law. She was thoughtful, helpful, easygoing, and fun to be around. But more than anything, she was always supportive and loving to me. I know I speak for Michael's wife, Betsy, when I say how lucky we were to have her in our lives and how much we appreciated how she always treated and loved us as one of her own children. Jeany always had a positive attitude and put the needs of others before her own. Even as her health declined, she was constantly worrying about everyone else. Her children, her grandkids, Ron, her home healthcare workers, 2 of which we are fortunate enough to have here today. And even when confronted with the most difficult of scenarios, Jeany always maintained a positive attitude and focused on all of the good things for which she was grateful. It was truly unbelievable and set the tone for everyone else in our amazing village. I've said it a million times over these last few months, but all 3 of them, Leah, Michael, and Jeany, have been absolutely amazing throughout this whole process. But it really was Jeany's attitude and fun-loving spirit that allowed us to fill these last 8 months with so many wonderful and joyous memories that we'll cherish forever. From carnival birthdays to Halloween costume parades, the tastiest Thanksgiving, countless dance parties, and almost 8 months of consecutive Shabbat dinners, I could not be prouder of the way this family has come together to honor and celebrate our time with Jeany. I've spent the better part of the last year in awe of the love and compassion and grace with which Jeany, Michael, and Leah have handled such an impossibly difficult situation. And being part of this family and being able to support them through this journey has been one of the greatest honors of my life. We will all miss Jeany dearly, but I know that her fun-loving spirit and caring ways have rubbed off on us all and will live on through her children and grandchildren.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our family today to celebrate my mom, Jeany Soshnik. I really struggled when I was writing this eulogy. My mom is so many things, and finding a way to distill her essence into a 5-minute speech felt impossible. I'm sure everyone feels that way when they are writing a eulogy for someone that is dear to them, but it really hit me hard when I was trying to figure out what to say about my mom, who I just love so much. It takes the pressure off quite a bit, since I know that my sentiments about my mom are shared by so many people. All of you know how amazingly kind, fun-loving, and vivacious she was. My mom had an incredible talent for connecting with anyone and everyone from all different walks of life. I think one of the reasons that my mom was able to make such fast and strong connections with people was because she just had this energy and enthusiasm about her that was contagious. She made you feel good about yourself when you were around her. Plus, my mom was fun, plain and simple. My mom once taught me and a friend how to play mahjong. It was just the 3 of us, but you really need 4 people to play maj. So of course my mom decided to play 2 hands. She would run back and forth between her hands and had a different persona for each. Mom, hi, and Mom, no. She never broke character, and my friend and I were cracking up while my mom was moving a million miles a minute. Similar to being a hilarious person to play games with, my mom was an unbelievably fun travel buddy. We took a trip together to Paris to celebrate one of my mom's birthdays, and we had the best time together. The trip was flawless, except that my mom drove us to the airport, and she was a genuinely awful driver. Plus, she was using this Garmin device that was like 10 years outdated. So I honestly did not know if we were going to make it to our flight. Fortunately, we did, and my mom and I spent the entire trip laughing. Her mischievous streak was on full display when we snuck into the garden of the then-closed Rodin Museum. I loved watching her eyes light up when we went to this amazing flea market and there were rows and rows of vintage clothing. I think my mom's favorite moment of the trip was when a French man mistook her for a Parisian. She was absolutely delighted that he thought she was stylish enough to be French. I've been fortunate to have time to sit and reflect about the legacy my mom is leaving behind, and it makes me feel incredibly proud and grateful to be her daughter. This past year was hard, but it was beautiful, and it is a true testament to my mom's character. It would have been understandable for her to be angry, difficult, negative, or miserable, but she wasn't. Anytime anyone asked her how she was doing, she would always answer, "I'm grateful." That is not to say that everything was great all the time, but she didn't complain. She faced a terrible disease with an unbelievably positive attitude and a tremendous amount of grace. She set the tone from our family from day one and gave us the gift of a very special year together. Again, that's not to say that it was always easy. Of course it wasn't. But my mom was a beacon of strength up until the very end. I know that my mom's spirit will continue on through her family, even though she will no longer be with us physically. I see it every day in the way that my brother Michael builds bridges to strengthen relationships. My sister-in-law Betsy cares so deeply for the people in her life. My nephew Georgie gets so excited about everything and anything. My niece Audrey grins mischievously after doing something silly. My husband Jonathan finds the positive in every situation. And my daughter Liliana always tries one more time when she falls down at the playground. We lost an incredible woman that was at the very core of our family. But we're so lucky to know that her essence is in each one of us, and her memory will continue to be a blessing.
How do we say goodbye? With deep love. And Jeannie's sister Nancy and her niece Sarah will share a poem called Epitaph that captures the essence of what it means to leave love for all of us.
When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old me that wait to die.
And if you need to cry, cry for your brother, walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me.
I want to leave you something better than words or sounds.
Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not your mind.
You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free.
Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
Jeany had many chapters in her life. The chapter of her childhood, the chapter of her leaving home at 16, the chapter of meeting Bob and raising a family in St. Louis, and then had her own chapter that was driven by and about Jeany, in which she found love, and she found care, and she found adventure, and she found fun, and she found Ron. And so, Ron, we want to welcome you to share some of your words as we say goodbye to your Jeany.
I thought I had a half hour. Jeany and I met October 28th, 2016. It was my first date in 44 years. My wife had died from a glioblastoma some months before, and we were active members of the Jewish Reconstructionist congregation. A couple of members asked me if I was ready to start meeting other people, and there had come a point where, yes, I was. And they had recommended that Jeany and I have an opportunity to meet and get to know one another. I knew from just what others had said that we shared a lot of common interests. So I planned our first date, which would be a 20-mile bike ride on the bike path at Lake Michigan. And I remember as I was riding up to meet her at Bryn Mawr and Lakeshore Drive, I realized how out of touch I was with dating. It had been 44 years. And I was hoping that I could be appropriate for the first time in that many years. As I arrived at Bryn Mawr, I saw a cute, petite woman sitting on a park bench with a floral backpack that clearly had come from Target and a bike helmet that was somewhat askew on her head. She was very cute. We had a delightful ride and a strong headwind and rode back to my apartment. We changed and went out to dinner at a red sauce Italian place in my neighborhood. Since I knew the owners, I was able to reserve a private table, and we shared a lovely dinner and were given the VIP treatment. We talked all evening, and I thought things were going extremely well. She was fun, interesting, and she had a great story. At the end of dinner, I trailered her and her bike back to her apartment in Andersonville and thanked her for a lovely afternoon and evening. We shook hands, and she then said, "Let's be friends." As I'm driving home, I begin to think that I've blown the date. All she wanted to now be was friends, I thought about this all weekend, trying to understand what I might have done wrong. My first date in 44 years, I failed. By Monday, I couldn't take it any longer, so I got up the courage and I called Jeany. She answered, and I said, "I have a quick question, and then I will be on my way. Was your comment about friends a thanks but no thanks? Or were you suggesting that that's how a relationship should begin?" She laughed. And I'm sorry. And said that's how a relationship should begin. Thank you. That night began a wonderful and loving relationship with many adventures and outdoor activities. If you come to Shiva for the rest of the week, I have many stories. I've learned many things from Jeany. Her ability to help me effectively communicate with members of my own family, which absolutely was invaluable. That you cannot overcook a brisket. There was never enough toilet paper. You know that. And that she taught me how to use earplugs. I clearly remember my first meeting with Leah and Jonathan. This was going to be a dinner. I was told that she was a tough grader and be very careful. I had a lovely and tasty Shabbat dinner with Leah and Jonathan, who, by the way, is an incredible human being. I ended our visit by telling Leah that she raised a very good mother. And that was it. Michael and Betsy came next, and that was a wonderful experience to watch a son and his mother to be so loving. It was enviable. Betsy and Jeany have a warm and wonderful relationship as well. From there, it was Grandma B for her, I believe it was her 84th birthday. And it was a visit to Omaha. Nancy and Jeany's lifetime friends were welcoming and easy. Debbie and David Cutler were gracious and warm. Everyone was enjoyable. I asked to go to the cemetery to meet Jeany's father and say a prayer at gravesite. Be like that. Whether being with Jeany or over the phone with Jeany, it was always and continually enjoyable. We had endless conversation that at times went on for 2 to 3 hours. It's not often in life you meet such a wonderful person. It was easy as an older adult to connect on so many levels. She liked the things that I did, and I liked the things that she did. We were never at a loss for words. She was smart, practical, and beautiful. As the grandchildren came along, I treated them as if they were my own. George, Michael's son, and Betsy's son have a special connection from the potty talk. I have a special connection from potty talk and rotator tow trucks. He's a wonderful kid who will become a great adult. I will do my part to keep Jeany's memory alive and be a blessing for him. Leah, Lily's daughter, and I connected as well. Did I not say that right?
You said Leah, Lily's daughter.
Oh, Lily, Leah's daughter, excuse me. Well, sometimes we wonder. She is so bright and eager to learn. As soon as she gets out of the terrible twos, which her mother thinks might be by the time she's 19, She too will be wonderful. That leaves Audrey. This is one tough cookie who has already learned to control the adults in her life. My thought process is always love her, but stay out of her way. Jeany's passing marks a timeline that lasted almost 900 days. We packed a lot into our short time together, lots of memories, joy, laughter, and wonderful conversations that I know will eventually replace the recent memories of her illness. She was a very comfortable person. Jeany was a person who never lost a friend, but only made new ones. What a gift. Jeany, I will always love you and hope you live on through your children and grandchildren. I will miss you deeply. May your memory be a blessing. Amen.
One of the early memories that I have when I came to JRC almost 5 years ago, having known Ron through that process, was Ron and Jeany dancing at my installation party with just wonderful love and spark and smile. And every other gala at JRC, which was so impeccably planned that she cared about the details and the beauty, and that she was the one who would bring people in, just as she had been brought in. And a year ago, I spent time with Jeany and Ron as they came to say, we want to get married. And we talked together about how to release her previous marriage and relationship through a get process with Bob, during which both of them could not have been more gracious. When Ron and Jeany were planning their wedding, which was supposed to take place before very different turn of circumstances last summer, it was all about making sure that everybody had a good time, that there was good food, good people, lots of love, not too much of a fuss about the religion part or the ritual part, but enough to say, we are headed off on a great big adventure. Jeany had great big adventures in her life, and she had so much fun, particularly in these last couple of years, as she and you, Ron, adventured off together and traveled, had martinis, had friends, had experiences together that were just, Jeany was game for everything. She learned to ski in her 60s. She was the kind of person who always said yes, who wanted to help others because she knew she came from a legacy of being helped as a Holocaust surviving family. Jeany was devoted not just to making sure that she had a good time, but that everybody else did too. Over the last 6 months, we had a weekly Thursday morning phone date that first was on the phone and then was on FaceTime. And these last couple of weeks was Jeany looking at the FaceTime and me singing and talking a little bit. And we sat and held hands together last Thursday morning for the last time as we sang Shema and Vidui and prayed for her release. Every time, as Leah said, I would talk to her and I'd say, so, how are you today? She'd say, still grateful. There's so much kindness around me. And she really moved not only through this last year, but really her whole life, with grace and with graciousness, with a feistiness and a zest. Jeany set the tone this year of how she was going to live this year and how she was going to let go. And it was incredibly special for her and for all of you to see that love come from all directions. Jeany wanted to make sure that others could get the most out of everything. She was a motivator. She would always have what you called sympathetic outrage, where you were outraged about something and she'd get up to join you in that moment, whether it was football and profanities or it was some other kind of injustice. She tried to go and bring a suitcase to a homeless woman that she would walk by every day to radiation, whose things were in plastic bags, so that she'd have something more stable to keep her belongings in. Jeany wanted to make sure that everyone was taken care of. Not just her children and Ron and her grandchildren, but everyone. That everyone was having a good time. That everyone was able to live their life to the fullest. She was dynamic. She was a wonderful friend who kept those connections and kept them going. One of the things that you said, Leah, was that Jeany was the hub. And the reality is, Jeany may have brought you together as the hub, but all of you are that hub. She may have been the center force that brought you in, but really the strength and the love and the relationships and the gratitude and the memories don't exist at the center. They exist in the circle all the way around it. And the more you push a little bit out of your comfort zone, bringing more people into that ring, the more Jeany's memory will live on in all of us. This is not the day that we thought we were planning last summer, or this year, or today. But this is where we are. And so what we do is we carry parts of Jeany with us. The good, the excited, the sparkly, the zesty, the caregiver, the exhausted, the challenged, the one who stepped in for many, many years to take care and to compensate. The one who loved so much. And so as we release her soul, her neshama, that which was breathed into her body when she drew her first breath 67 years ago, and exhaled this last Monday morning for the last time, we pray that her soul rises up now, that it may join the realms of the farthest reaches of the universe, these little green buds that are just starting to awaken, that were closed up perhaps on Monday, and in these last couple of days of warmth and sunshine have started to open. We remember her. Please rise as you are able as we chant El Malei Rachamim, the prayer of compassion and of release.
אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המצאן נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הקיים מסירים, את נשמת מלכה בת יצחק וביאתה שהלכה לעולמו. אנא בעל הרחמים הסתירך בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתו, ותנוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן.
God, full of compassion, dwelling in the heavens' heights, bring proper rest beneath the wings of your presence, amid the ranks of the holy and the pure, illuminating like the brilliance of the skies, the soul of Jeany Soshnik, who has gone to her eternal place of rest. May you, who are the source of compassion, shelter her beneath your wings eternally and bind her soul among the living that she may rest in peace. And we say together, Amen. Al Mekoma Tavo V'Shalom. May Jeany go to her final resting place in peace. And we invite you to remain standing as you are able, as the coffin is lowered. And then we will all have the opportunity to take part in the ritual of kfura, of burial, which is one of the holiest rituals we have. One of the most sacred of all of the mitzvot, because it's something that we only ever do for others, that we know and we hope and pray will be repaid to us someday by those who come after us. We invite everyone who is here to come forward and participate in the burial. The realness of what we do is not, we don't talk about it in euphemisms, we don't talk about it in metaphors. We have come to bury Jeany, and we invite anyone who'd like to take part in that honor to do so. Anyone who wants to come up, there's two sides and just. Everybody's welcome to take a turn.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
You've been great always. I mean, I remember Grandma B.
So we'll invite everyone to come up closer. We're in sort of a circle. We can encircle for just a moment as we say Kaddish for Jeany for the first time. So we invite you, if you'd like the words, they are in the on the handout on the back that was passed out. Many of us know them. And we invite you to stand. We invite those of you who are live streaming from home to stand where you are as we say goodbye and we remember Jeany. The words of Mourner's Kaddish are actually not about death. They are about the glory and beauty and grace in the universe. And we say them in Jeany's memory because she is no longer able to say those words herself. May her memory be a blessing. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra cherutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, bagala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitgadal v'yitabach naseh. Dar v'tale v'talal shmei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen.
Shalom, 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 bimromav,
Uyase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom, shalom, shalom imromev. Uyase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru. Amen. Zichrona livracha. May Jeany's memory always be a blessing. Amen.
Once again, we want to thank all the many people who are online streaming. Memorial contributions in Jeany's memory may be made to the Anti-Defamation League, the Institute for Holocaust Education, or the American Brain Tumor Association. That information, as well as other information regarding Jeany's amazing, wonderful life, is available at ChicagoJewishFunerals.com. The family will be observing Shiva beginning tonight at 7 o'clock. That information is on the Jewish Reconstructionist Congregation website, JRC 6. I apologize, 6 o'clock. That information is at jrc-evanston.org, as well as other information and times. Thank you so much, and